Welcome to Sakai, Japan for the mixed finals here at the World Ultimate and Guts Championships 2012. I'm Brian Jones with Mario Bryan. Next Gen Network's coverage here. Great matchup today. We have Canada facing off against Australia, and Australia is trying to rebound from a pool play loss that Canada dealt them, Mario.
Absolutely. They weren't ever really in the game. Canada has come out firing on all cylinders this entire tournament, and it is going to be on the backs of Hoi Vu, John Damiani, and Tom Tullett, the three primary Australian handlers, if the job is going to get done here for the Australians. Their offense completely relies on their ability to effectively distribute, not only to the other cutters, but to each other. They're going to touch the disc all the time. 90% of the throws are going to be between those three players, and a few of them have been playing with the Australian national teams for a really long time. Damiani, over 20 years of nationals experience. Truly an impressive body of work that Damiani has put in.
Now on the other side, looking at Canada, they have been absolutely dominant throughout this entire tournament. Featuring the Norden twins, Justin and Jeremy.
The Canadians have been the most dominant team in the entire tournament in any division. No team has put up double-digit points yet this weekend against the Canadians. They have looked flawless, and it's all going to be about continuing that momentum. Yes, the Norden brothers come from an ultimate background in their family, and they have been the leaders out there for this mixed team. And truly, if they don't come away with the victory, it's going to be because they either weren't on their game and Australia has to play the game of their life.
I said earlier that the Nordens were twins. Actually, Justin is the younger brother coming from College of Carleton. Jeremy just finished up at Whitman. Jeremy will actually go on to play an American team this year, Rhino. This Canadian team is made up, though, of several different teams, groups. Starting out, the base, Team Fisher-Price, won the Canadian Championships last year to qualify. And after that, we have about 5 players coming in from the men's team, GOAT, and then 4 players coming in from Onyx, the semifinal team from the Canadian Championships. So a great mix there across Canada, who usually likes to put together, use a team as a base, and then put together an all-star team. We look across, though, for Australia. We see across the nation, we see players from Perth, Sydney, Adelaide, Newcastle, Canberra. They're definitely a mix and a true national team. And they had a selection process that they went through last summer at ECC.
The selection process was considerably longer than either the Canadian team or really any of the American teams went through. What happened was they took both a men's and women's team to a tournament in the United States called ECC that takes place in August, and that was the last round of their tryouts. After that, the open team selected their roster from those open players, and the women's team selected their roster. And then after both of those rosters were created, the mixed team chose from the players that did not get selected for the open and women's team.
Now, talking about Canada, really, when their focus is on themselves. Their offense, they said, have been really free form. They've been looking to huck it when that's available, taking the defense what's given, but really just focusing in on intensity and just making sure that they're going to come into every game ready. And so far, it's been clear. No team has scored double digits. Canada is definitely the favorite in this game. Australia is going to have to put together a great game in order to come back and avenge their pool play loss. We're about to get set. It looks like Australia is ready to go on the line. Canada just getting out there doing some last warm-ups. Again, I'm Brian Jones here with Mario Bryan, Next Gen Network's coverage. We just had a fantastic women's final. Japan winning 17-13 over the U.S. Upcoming later on today, we'll have Lou Burris and Chase Sparling Beckley back to give you coverage of Great Britain versus the United States in the Open division. In the Masters, in the Women's Masters, we saw USA win yesterday, as well as Canada take down Australia in the Open Masters division.
That Canada-Australia game was one of the most entertaining games I've watched all weekend. You saw many of the members of the dynasty of Canadians from the past decade playing on that Canadian national team, going up against the GAC, as he is known.
Don Rogacki.
Yeah, he had an absolutely monster game for the Australians. And he, like many of the players on this Australian national team, have put in a number of years for the Australians.
And we're about to get set to pull. Canada will be coming in an offense. Australia starting out on defense. So no time we see Justin Norden on the line. He'll be a main central handler for the Canadians. Looks like we're just waiting for the signal to start. We've got a packed stands. Great atmosphere here in Sakai. And we're about to get started. Australia with the pull. Beeline pull to Norden. Norden underneath. Canada continuing. Wide open cuts, gaining lots of yardage, already past midfield. Looking back, McKnight to Norden. It's Norden inside break. Way inside break, just outside the goal line, and quick dish for the score, and just like that, Team Canada is up 1-0.
The Canadians doing such a great job of spacing downfield, not just spacing in terms of how fast they cut. It's also their ability to clear space for the next cutter. They're able to attack both the open side and the break side. As you can see here from Norden, another break throw leads to an easy goal. Look at that, inside out to an easy backhand for the goal. Canadians coming out patient, composed, and accurate on their first point.
Like you said, the Canadians just working their way down there smoothly and fluidly, taking the defense, taking what the defense gives them. Canadians definitely have this high-powered offense, and so far during this tournament, it's not going to look easy right now for the Australians to come out. They're going to have to have a monumental effort on defense to really stop that offense.
That's number 2, John Damiani. He's going to get a lot of touches for the Australians.
Pull goes up. Disc centered. Damiani underneath. Now forced go to the inside break. Spielman looking back. Damiani already touching it almost every other. Wide open cut along the sideline. Shepard. This one looks like it might be coming back. We have a call on the field. Interesting. You have the horizontal cut coming from Shepard there. It was wide open underneath, but maybe due to a pick.
Now, in contrast to the open team and the women's team, this mixed Australian team is much more handler dominated. You're going to see the downfield cuts actually coming from the handler spot. They'll hit them when they're open, but they truly love to have the disc in the hands of Vu, Damiani,
Shepard
and
looking deep. Right outside the end zone. Back. Damiani looking around, surveying the field, trying to get off an inside break. Loses the disc on his own on a fake. That's unfortunate. Jeremy Norden picking up the disc. Norden, tight mark. Swings it to the far side. Looking back for Norden. Continuing over to the break side. Harris. Upfield, Norden creating space. Has a receiver streaking. Looks like this might be a foul to play. Nonetheless, Australia gets the D. This one is coming back. Norden looked like he was hit pretty hard.
Jeremy Norden is rarely going to pop up a throw like that. He is known for his hucking ability, forehand and backhand. Got to imagine there was some contact that made that throw pop up into the air.
Spielman was there, would have had the D. But like you said, Norden isn't usually going to allow the defense to get underneath that one. Norden goes forward again, wide open. This one's on target. Canada with the first break of the game goes up 2-0.
And as we mentioned, Jeremy Norton, a spectacular hooker, puts the ball to an area of the field where the defense has no chance. The receiver can run onto it. It floats perfectly in front of them. And this is just a dime.
Cam Harris wide open. Norton falling down on the flick. Harris just wide open. Norton just finishing out his last college season with Whitman. One of the All-Americans players selected by Sky Magazine. Definitely a reason why Whitman had made nationals the year previous.
This Australian offense looked patient. They looked smooth up until they got to their end zone offense. And Damiani had to holster an IO throw because the Canadian mark shut it down with his foot. You could actually see him leaning into that IO throw before he was about to make it. Excellent job by the Canadian mark stopping that throw. And Damiani turns it over as he repositions for the throw.
Ball from Canada. This one is high. Going to give a chance for the defense to get down there. Sprinting down. Dion. Damiani launching a backhand. Wide open. Defender is there. Australia just outside the end zone. Flips it in for the score. Call on the play. Gavin Moore was open deep. Streaking past a female defender. Thorne was open in the end zone.
Beautiful throw from Damiani to space, to an open offensive player.
Moore looking for an opportunity now, forced to go back, flips it in. Australia sneaks that one in. 2-1, Canada leads.
Jeremy Norton trying to apply the pressure. We're going to take a look at the hook and watch as Damiani just puts it out to space. Nice bit of concentration there by the receiver.
Like you said, Mario, Damiani has been the focal point of this offense. We talked about how the handlers were going to get touches, but Damiani really has made this thing go so far. Unfortunately, having that drop off the fake to start things off in the first offensive possession for the Australians. We'll see the Canadian offense back on the field.
Talking to the Australian coach before the game, he said they were going to make adjustments on a couple things in the game. One of them being where they place their men in their zones. They came down man in the first part. The Canadian offense shredded. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that adjustment that they talked about in their zone, specifically putting their male players downfield on the strong side.
Up to Norton. Norton flips it upfield. Back to Norton. Leduc. Looking back. Ning is there to rescue. Norton. Over the top. Putting it up. Wide open in the back. Leduc with the score. Canadians make it look easy. Once again, 3-1.
That's another unchallenged goal. This one to the break side, a break side hook. Now, the other adjustment that the Australians said they were going to make is they were going to step off a bit on the marks. They said the Canadians did a really good job in the previous matchup of stepping through the mark and drawing fouls. They talked about stepping off on the mark to not allow them to draw those fouls. Here, what I'm seeing is because they've stepped off a little bit, their break throws are that much easier. And it's not just the hooks. There were a number of nice little flip backhands there by Norton that generated that space and eventually led to the break side hook for the goal.
We'll see if the Australian offense can keep pace early. The Canadian defense hasn't really produced a turnover yet. They've now been able to see the offense the Australians are going to run. We'll see if they can make adjustments. on this possession. Lloyd with the pull for Canada. This one floating. Jeremy Norden hustling down. Damiani. Scuber. Shepard. Back for Damiani. Big bid by Canada. Damiani going for the full field. Canada is there with the D.
And that hook attempt he was just going for too much. That offensive player was already 30 yards away when he threw it. Damiani was deep in his own end zone. The only possible connection is going to be an 80-yard throw to the end zone. Couldn't quite get enough on it. Canadian defender makes a good play.
Norden is Powell with the D for Canada. Norden. Oziwa. Powell. Looking upfield. Back to Norden. Both Norden brothers, you can see on defensive and offensive lines, really being the central focus point for making the offense run. Norden trying to throw an inside break, ends up throwing into a poach. Back to Spielman. Damiani. Shepard streaking deep, and they're going to throw it to him. Defender is there trying to take inside position, but Shepard is just too tall. Canada leads 3-2.
The 6'4" Shepard makes a relatively easy play for him, but anyone else is going to have to make the play of their life in order to get their hand on this desk.
Australia really utilizing Shepard in trying to get their huck opportunities early. You see Damiani try to go for what should have been an 80-yard throw. Looks like they're going to continue to take those risks throughout this game.
And Damiani's hucks need to come with his momentum going downfield. This Australian offense loves the handler movement, and I think if they can make their huck decisions off of that movement going downfield, they're going to have a much higher chance of success. The huck that they didn't complete earlier was Damiani just seeing someone wide open, no motion, and he just jacked it. Defender made a play. That one, in contrast, throwing to the tall receiver, was in motion, and that's a good option. I think that's one of their advantages out there. They've got the only monster of the whole game in terms of height. They need to take advantage.
McKnight. And we see a little bit of zone here. Scuber to Norden. Norden, huge flick out to space. Can he run it down? This one's falling fast. Sprinting there. Oh, just out of reach. Leduc was there. Was open. Norden launching a bomb just too far. It's the first turnover of the game for the offensive line of Canada.
Australia is not going to get a lot of opportunity to score with their D-line. They absolutely need to be efficient with every opportunity. I don't think that they can huck and hope on their D-line. I think they need to grind.
Tollett. For an opportunity, swinging back. This one dangerous. Knight running it down. Back to Tollett. Tollett going deep. Coming back underneath. Great play. Thorne grabs that one. Back underneath, calling the play.
Thorne showing some incredible agility on that catch. Jumps over the defender, reaches in, and comes up with the grab.
Thorne getting things started. Looking upfield. Calling the play. Harge was open downfield. Play gets checked back in. Thorne. Field. Knight. Tullett. Vertical stack for Australia. The hammer. Knight comes up with it. Stumbling with the catch. Tullett trying to make moves on Norden. Throws a space. This one just too far out of reach.
Justin Norden with the lockdown defense on Tullett. Credit Norden with that D. It's not going to go in books as Norden's D, but he gets all the credit.
Norden now taking his time to the disc. Getting set underneath. Carey pops one up. Nobody there is there to make a play. Canada retains possession. Going deep. Leduc again. Knight is there, but Leduc makes the catch in traffic. Canada leads 4-2. And this offensive line importantly holds for Canada.
Like I said, Brian, the Canadian offense is not going to give you a lot of opportunities, and you need to capitalize. Australians 0 for 1. Classic Canadian offense with the Huck looks coming after a throw downfield. They're so good at isolating just one cutter in that space and prioritizing that space as the Huck look. Canadians will often, if that throw is not there, they'll throw a pump fake. The receiver chops their steps and then comes in for another gainer.
Canada getting set on defense once again. This time rotating in their defensive line. Pull goes up. This one deep again, maybe going out the back. This one is in bounds. No? This one may have slid out. Play gets started off. Damiani catches it off the swing. Looking for Shepard underneath along the sideline, and we have a pick call. Shepard, though, blasting this one. It's coming back.
For those of you watching in North America, playing by whiff-diff rules, the disc, no matter what, goes back to the thrower at the moment where the disc was thrown from. It doesn't matter if a turnover happens or a completion happens. Disc always goes back under whiff-diff rules.
Shepard. Damiani busting up line. Now forced to look up. Lockdown defense by Canada. Cutter comes back. Scoops it up. Going for the Huck. This one deflected, it looks like. But makes it anyway just outside the goal. Sneddon. Koivu with the disc on the goal line for Australia. Some confusion going on, people resetting after the call. Vu. Back to Shepard. Shepard. Damiani for the goal. Australia offense hanging tough. 4-3, Canada leads.
If Australia can stay in this game and just trade a few points in the first half, that might be all they need to motivate them to come up with some huge plays in the second half. Canada has dominated this tournament throughout, and if they can get to halftime with a lead but not a huge lead, that's going to make them nervous. And in a championship game, two teams playing on emotion, anything can truly happen.
Focus, of course, right now is immediately on this championship game, but looking forward, we have the World Games to consider in terms of bids and how everybody finishes here, Mario.
The way it works is your country gets a bid to the World Games based on the placement of your teams at this tournament. Those positions have officially been locked up based on the finishes of the 5 teams who have qualified, and the one spot that goes to the hosting team, and that will be Colombia next year. The 3 teams that everyone assumed would get a World Game spot, USA, Japan, Canada, have locked down their spot. And because of the way the Australians and the Great Britain team have finished, they have also locked down the 4th and 5th spot to the World Games. So it'll be Japan, United States, Canada, Australia, Great Britain, and the host Colombia at the World Games next year.
Australia throwing a zone, almost 6 defenders in the area, 10-yard area around the disc. Canada staying patient. Norden.
So taking a look at this Australian zone, it's a 1-3-2-1 classic Australian zone. You're going to see 1 defender marking the entire time. Then you're going to see a wall of defenders behind the mark. Then 2 wings and a deep defender. The adjustment the Australians said they were going to make is they were going to move their male players into the strong side wing position.
Play restarts. McKnight. Ning. To Norden. A lot of players around the disc. One is wide open deep. Nobody is there. Now Norden quickly moving upfield. Ledoux. Over the top to Norden. McKnight. Looking around for the swing. McKnight. Norden now dropping in the hammer. Across, Ledoux hops into the end zone for the goal. Canada navigates that zone. 5-3 they lead.
Lots of ways to beat a zone, and Canada did it every single way. You can go around, you can go through, you can go over, and they employed all 3 of those ways at some point in their zone offense. Didn't do an excellent job of spacing the field, but since they moved the discs so quickly, the zone really never got a chance to set. And Norden, with the back-breaking hammer, opens up the zone, which eventually leads to the goal.
The Australian offense has held so far. So at this point in time, Canada should have seen enough to make the necessary adjustments on defense. We'll see if they do anything differently coming downfield. We have seen the Canadian defense being able to shut down on those handlers at times. It has really forced Australia to make some great plays in tight traffic in order to keep things alive. Back to that last goal.
And that's the difference in terms of the way that the teams are scoring. Generally, the Canadians' goals have been scored very easily. It's been 1 or 2 big throws that have led to the score. On the flip side, the Australians have had to, like you said, Brian, make plays in order to score goals. And that normally, the team that's scoring the easier goals is going to win the game.
Looks like this disc is being called out. Some confusion at first. Looked like almost from our vantage point that it may have popped in first. Damiani. Stack is deep downfield. Shepard coming in underneath. Shepard looking for the inside and gets hacked on the play. Chung on the mark. Moore up the line. Great catch by Vu. Vu face guarded as Damiani just gets the around flick. Canada is there with a huge layout D. Trying to throw for a simple in cut. Defender closed with incredible speed. Norden. We can get things started. Trying to go up line is fouled.
Norden presents so many problems for an offense. Yes, he's got the huck skills, but he's so long that he can reach around for most break throws whenever he wants.
Norden really taking the physical play and just continuing on. drop there by Canada, gives it right back. Damiani looking the quick strike. Goes with a hammer. Wide open just outside the end zone. Moore. Looking for an option, staying very patient. Now goes over the top. Bobbled. This one being called out by the Canadians. We'll have to see. Australia calling it in. This one was bobbled. We'll have to see what possession was. Moore looking over the top. Here's the catch. Bobbled. Can't tell from that vantage point.
I'm sure we'll get a look at it again. You're going to see that she was still bobbling the disc. And in fact, it looked like her toe was also on the line. That first toe that she gets down right there.
That's when she has possession, and she looks out from our vantage point. Certain. Doesn't look like they're going to give up on this call, so if anything, it's going to be contest. Brings up the debate about spirit of the game here at World's Games. We do not have observers for the American viewers used to that type of arbitration we have. Observers with active in and out calls. Moore trying to stuff it in, calls the foul. Jung there on the mark.
Good mark there by Jung, and also good work by Moore to just step around.
Moore now goes back. Vu. Norden slips. Call on the play. Norden sprawling all over the place.
Excellent display of athleticism and agility by Norden.
Vu.
Here you're going to see Norden make a bid one way, gets up, bids the other way.
Vu stuffs it in for the goal. Rebecca Carmen with the goal, first goal of the game. Australia keeping it close.
They're hanging in there, Brian, and like we said, that's all they need. They just need that glimmer of hope leading into halftime.
Vu here, just a simple cut to the fore side. Defender gets beat. It doesn't get much easier in a World Finals game. That's one of the easiest goals you'll see here today.
Yeah, can't get beat to the cone side as a defender.
This game is a rematch of the third and fourth place game back in 2008. Have a little situational reverse. The first and second place teams played in the third and fourth place game yesterday. USA and Japan finishing third and fourth. Australia, big blade backhand pull. This one comes down quickly. Norden. Canada comes out in a side stack. Way. Norden slips. Call on the play. Norden claiming he was getting armbarred by Tullett.
Looked like pretty good D. I think Norden just slipped.
Way. Looks back for Ning. Ning looking upfield. Way. Justin Norden is moving, trying to get Tullett out of position. Norden up the side. Looking for Way. Putting it deep. Lidu is there. Catches it easily. Lidu has been making plays all over the field. 6-4.
I'll tell you what, the credit goes to the thrower here. Lidu didn't even know this disc was in the air until it was up for a second. He actually looked the wrong way, but the throw was so good, led him to space that Lidu just had to keep running at full steam tremendous skill and accuracy by the Canadian throwers.
6-4, we'll have halftime here at 9, game to 17. Again, later on, we have Great Britain versus the U.S. in the Open finals. Japan taking the title in front of their home crowd in the last game in the women's finals. USA getting the silver. Canada set the pole. This one's going to go out of bounds, giving Australia just get the brick mark. Vu.
The Canadian dump defense so far this game has been a difference maker in terms of forcing difficult throws. We talked about how much the Australians were going to rely on their handlers. They've been face guarding
Shepherd
mostly.
Going deep. Carman is there. Second goal of the game. Shepherd to Carman in Australia. Canada just hasn't been adjusting downfield. They've been great, like you were saying, on the handlers. But downfield, Australia has had what they wanted.
Excellent throw by Shepherd. It's really not a lot of room for error, especially on the downwind side of the field. As you can see, the defender was in pretty good position. Unfortunately for the defender, a perfect throw by Shepherd. That was Beck Carman on the reception, one of the key receivers for the Australians.
Australia getting set to pole, 6-5. Canada leads. Canada opening up this game with a break. Australia surviving on offense, really flourishing on some of their possessions with openings deep. Other times having to work through tight dump defense. McKnight, Norden, and the zone again from Australia. McKnight. Norden in the middle of the cup. Looking for the hammer opportunity. Has a receiver wide open on the left side of the field. Nobody behind the entire defense if Norden could just recognize. It's completely wide open. Nobody available. Just throw the disc. There it is, wide open. Just has to get there waiting for it. Hanging. Makes a great play. Viduk is there again.
Viduk having a huge game as a receiver for Canada. I'm not sure that was even the intended target for the throw.
Jen Kwok was there. Wide open in the end zone by about 40 yards. All Canada had to do was get the throw there, but the closing speed by Thorne was incredible.
Nice job shielding the defender out of the play. Goes up strong off of 2 feet, maintains position, rips it down.
Kwok is just a spectator. In that instance, 7-5, 2 points till halftime. Australia has attempted to thwart the Canadians with their zone, and Thorne, you can see why he's playing so far in. That throw is just a little sharper and doesn't float as much, so that's going to be an easy goal. Big pull from Canada blading. This one's going to come down fast. Going to be in bounds. First time in several possessions for Canada. Norden getting down on Vu. Swing upfield. Sneddon. Foul called on the play. Bumping on the mark. Vertical stack with Damiani and Vu back. Damiani. It's really been taken out of the play. The Canadians actively denying him the disc. Call on the play again. We've seen more of Vu in the last several possessions in the cutters for Australia delivering the disc. Vu up the line. Norden is there. Tries to lay it on the backside. Call on the play.
Again, excellent pressure from the handler defenders from Canada, making every throw difficult, and that adds up late in the game. If you have to throw into tight windows and you know that your mark is always there, that wears you down mentally, and at the end of the game, that's where we start to see the effort from the beginning of the game pay off.
There's some discussion, things finally getting going. Vu, Shepard, been dangerous from this position all game long. Shepard going for it again. Sneddon was open, but Shepard just with a cannon overthrows her. There's one of Australia's first mistakes downfield besides Damiani trying to huck it from the end zone. Canada with an opportunity to break, expand their lead to 3. Norden walking the disc to the line. Norden in a horizontal stack for Canada. This thing started with a play. Norden forced to go back. This one hanging high. Gonna be floating. Canada comes in, toes the line. Great play. Harris looking for the inside. This one thrown into a poach. Carman is there. Vu. Damiani, a huge bid by Canada gets the D back. Norden rushing to the disc. Aizawa with the huge block on Damiani. Coming into the inside shoulder.
As we take a look at this impressive work
Harris.
of concentration by Harris.
Norden getting set. Looking upfield. Aizawa. Back to Norden. Flip to Lloyd. Norden getting it every other throw. Looking for the round fakes with, keeps the disc in his left hand.
The old phantom backhand fake.
Aizawa looking upfield. Harris, call on the play. Travel called. Play restarts. Back to Norden.
Huge difference in the dump defense played by Australia. For Canada right now, they're able to reset the disc unchallenged every single time.
Canada not liking what they're seeing downfield. We'll be back in a few moments with Next Gen Network's coverage of the World Championships here in Sakai, Japan. Canada leading 7-5 over Australia. Canadian offense taking a timeout. Back here with Mario O'Brien, I'm Brian Jones.
I love the timeout call here for Canada. Effective game management is another thing that I think is undervalued sometimes. Here, Canada, obviously in no danger of an Australian run, but they understand the value of every single possession as a D-line. We're getting close to halftime. They've got 2 timeouts per half. There's no reason not to get exactly what look you want. Here we're going to see a vertical stack from the Canadians. Don't be surprised to see Norden as the initial look here for the reset, and then looking to the end zone either for a huck or a break throw to space.
Norden trying to bust the line. Aizawa Lloyd. Norden now going deep, had space. Lloyd having to fight through the mark. Back to Lloyd. Call on the play. Norden trying to attack the back door, weak side.
Canadians obviously looking to use their men. They've got the men positioned in the front three in terms of the handlers in the front of the stack, and then Norden roaming around in the back.
Lloyd, Aizawa. Foul on the play. Damiani, uncontested foul, coming in on 0. It starts off, flip up field, Harris. Norden sneaks up the line, gets space. Jeremy Norden comes up with it. Going to be a little bit of an argument to see if he was in bounds or not in bounds, but in the end zone. This one is going to be ruled a goal. Canada leads 8-5.
And he almost dropped this disc. You're going to see the contact with the ground actually causes the disc to flip over, and he still maintains control. Incredible play there by Norden. The timeout pays off for Canada. They get the look they want, the receiver they want. And Australia turns around and calls a timeout of their own.
And we'll be back to see if Australia can make this ground up. We'll be back in a few moments. We're back in Sakai, Japan. Canada leading 8-5. Australia calling a timeout to try to regroup here in the late moments of the first half. I'm Brian Jones here with Mario O'Brien, Next Gen Network's coverage of the 2012 World Championships. An exciting day so far. Japan taking down USA in the women's final. Right now we're watching, of course, Canada versus Australia in the mixed final. Canada, nobody has scored double digits in them, but tell you what, Australia is very close to already exceeding their point total of what they scored in Canada in the pool play game. That game being 17-5, I believe. Both teams just getting to the line now. Canadians coming in on defense. You see Justin Norden make his first appearance on the defensive line. Opportunity to break for half.
The Nordens seem to be the centerpiece in terms of offensive strategy, no matter if it's
on both
offense
lines
or defense. Those guys have an intensely incredible ability to distribute the disc and facilitate an offense.
Incredible pull from Canada. This one just keeps on hanging. Canada is down there, but doesn't stop the first throw. Norden on Vu. Coming in underneath. Moore. Yep, Norden locking down on Vu. Around to Damiani. Damiani goes to the ground to make the catch. Damiani, stoppage on the play.
Norden's dump defense, again, spectacular. No easy resets available for the Australians.
Play restarts. Vu gets open on the face guard. Norden giving chase. Vu trying to come back to his backhand. Norden is there. Back. Canada forcing them back into their own end zone. Moore and a huge block. Mark Lloyd, GOAT player, coming in strong, adding that defensive prowess to this line. Norden walks to the goal line. This one would be for halftime. Lloyd was open. Norden calling a timeout, going to set up a play. Canada just rolling in the late stages, now picking up on defense. Lloyd with a huge block to set up this end zone possession.
And again, it's all on the handler defense. Norden shuts down the upline cut. They tried to dump around. When the mark can rely on the dump defenders to not get beat upline, that makes him more comfortable adjusting his mark. And in that case, he adjusted at the right moment. He read the offensive player's hips and eyes and adjusted his mark just at the right moment in order to get that block. It's the team defense that got it. It was not just that one player. It was everybody. All of the players downfield, first shutting down the downfield cuts, then Norden taking away the upfield cut that sets up the hand block. You can obviously see the trust that's been built in to this Canadian defense.
Like you said, Lloyd knowing, not having to go up line, Lloyd there just reading the play excellently. That's what a good pull does for you. That's what great dump defense does for you, pushing the Australians back into the end zone.
Defenses are built on concepts, and if everyone can buy into those concepts, it allows you to aggressively try to make plays in certain situations. The concept that the Canadians have executed well is that no upline, tough dump defense.
Norden flips it in, just out of reach. St. Arnaud was there. Instead, Australia will get a chance to hold. Norden just overthrowing his receiver. Damiani. Norden face guarding yet again, going up the line. Vu is there. Norden coming back around, trying to launch a huck. This one's too low. It's Deed. Norden from half field as a streaking Lloyd. Norden going. This one hanging. Lloyd trying to get position, goes up for the grab, and that's halftime. Mark Lloyd. Canada leads 9-5.
Mark Lloyd, significantly outmatched in height, just makes an excellent read. Canadians are going to be very tough to beat if they can not only shut down handlers, throwers executing, and they're making plays in the air. It's going to be an uphill climb here for the Australians in the second half.
We'll see if the Australians can mount that comeback against Canada. 9-5, the Canadians lead at halftime. We'll be back in a few moments. This is Next Gen Network's coverage of the 2012 World Ultimate Championships. And we're back for the second half action here of Canada versus Australia in the mixed division finals of the 2012 World Ultimate Championships presented by Next Gen Network. I'm Brian Jones here with Mario O'Brien. The story of the game so far, Mario, has been the Canadian defense, especially on the handlers.
Yeah, they've done an excellent job shutting down the upline cut. Here you're going to see Justin Norden shut down the Australian handler. He gets him to dance, shuts down one cut, then shuts down another cut, which just causes a really difficult throw across the field. We talked about that wearing on an offense. Here's another tight throw to the handler.
Aizawa making a great play there.
And those plays lead to this play, the hand block. When handlers feel like, when throwers feel like their handlers can't get open, they look off those upline shots, and that allows the marks to adjust, and in that case leads to a hand block. Canadians have dominated just in that one element of the game. It's led to a number of turnovers, and they're capitalizing on their breaks. Their offense has not been broken, only a few turnovers. And the Australians have yet to capitalize on any of those opportunities.
Canadians actually will be coming in on defense, it looks like. Australia needed to hold here right out of the first half. No team has gotten to double digits on Canada yet. Australia's close on their way to even just accomplishing that feat. The base of this team, of the Canadian team, Team Fisher-Price, actually didn't even make it out of regionals last year in the Northwest region, which was filled to the brim with incredible mixed teams. Blackbird, Wolverine, Blackbird actually the U.S. representative, but yet here with their additions from Goat and Onyx, absolutely destroyed the Americans in the semifinals, 17-6. An impressive turnaround from not making nationals in the U.S. to coming here and looking like they're well on their way to a gold medal.
Yeah, I think it just speaks to the wealth and depth of talent in North America, and I think where the United States and Canada are leading the way is in their youth development and their leagues. We've got players like the Nordens who grew up playing Ultimate, and now leagues are starting to pop up in middle schools, in high schools, and you've got players who are ending up on national teams that have already been playing. By the time they're 21, they've already been playing for 4, 5, even 6 years. And the rest of the other international teams just can't really compete with that experience at such a young age.
Tola on the field now, replacing Damiani. Early on, almost dropped. Shepard hanging on to it. Tola trying to change things up in the offense. Shepard gets hand blocked on the line, but a foul called. The Canadian defender cannot believe it. Harris thought he had a clean one. This one's going to come back. Those marks really just ramping up. First, the hand block from Lloyd late in the first half. Harris still going to debate this one.
A lot of credit to the downfield defense for Canada not allowing the open side throws to the cutters for Australia.
Upfield, Vu. Sneddon. This one blocked. Giving it back to Canada. Harris. Dion. Canada staying patient here. So trying to get flow downfield. I believe this is the first time we haven't seen a Norden. I mean, even in this early going off of this transition, you can see the effect that they have on the field. They're usually the ones to go up and just get the disc and start the offense moving over the top. Going deep, wide open. Aizawa in the back of the end zone, toes the line, and Canada starts out the second half on the right foot, up 10-5.
Another break mark flick hook from the Canadians.
Lloyd.
You're going to see him shimmy with the left shoulder, step out. Kaizawa wide open. Nice job towing the line. Canada looks poised for a world championship here in the mixed division.
7 points away. Australia is going to need a bit of a miracle. They're going to need their offense to click and to find a way to slow down this Canadian team who has not yet given up a break. A couple of turnovers by the Canadian offense.
And I think the Australians are simply outmatched in their what they think is their strength. They rely on their male handlers, and the Canadian dump defenders and marks are outplaying the best players for Australia.
And as you said, even though the handlers are doing such a good job, the downfield defense has been impressive as well for Canada. They haven't given up anything. Early on in the game, we saw some hucks from Shepard, from Moore coming in underneath, turning around and jacking it deep. That just hasn't happened in the last few possessions. The entire defense really decided to locking down, knowing that the handler is not going to give up any breaks. The marks are tough. You can just play four-side defense, don't have to worry about too much. Damiani trying to get things going. Moore. Upfield. Webb. Damiani. Tam was close for Canada getting the D. Damiani Scuber. It's one way to work it upfield. Say. Swung all the way across to Damiani. Looking deep. Sneddon is open. This one dropping in. Sneddon. Australia gets one on the board. Down 10-6 now.
Nice chuck there from Damiani to Sneddon, hitting a pretty small window. Nice little side on for the goal.
The Australians have been forced to almost be perfect. It's not to say that they can't match Canada in some respects, but when you're forced to play perfect and pressured the way the Canadians have been, it is tough to do that consistently. Canadians with their first offensive possession coming up of the second half. Last game we saw a raucous hometown crowd. Now we hear the Australian crowd start to amp things up. It has been a hot one all week long. Hot and humid here in Sakai, Japan. Blade pole comes in for Canada. Up to Norden. Man defense, a little bit of poaching downfield, man on the handlers. Forces it through the zone, bobbled, and Canada with a rare drop. Australia with an opportunity to break. Quick movement. Moore. Looking back. Mortimer. Turfs this flick. Unfortunate for the Australians. Norden. Wide open deep. Norden trying to strike. Lee Duke. Moore giving chase. Lee Duke goes up too early. Is he going to call this foul? No. Going to be a turnover.
Good no call there by Leduc. He knows he went up too early. Contact happened, but it was well after the disc had sailed over his head.
Canadian offense not looking smooth to start things off. Did have an open opportunity there, just could not execute. Mortimer. Middleton. Vertical stack. Mortimer floats this one. This one's going to go out of bounds. Norden picking it up, no movement yet. To the middle of the field. Lee Duke passes it on. Kwok putting it up. Goes up, comes down with it way, and call on the play. Looks like they're calling this one out. Definitely close in the back of the end zone.
We're going to have a good look at this one. He definitely goes up, intends to keep his feet in bounds.
Did have a drag. It looks like the left foot, though, came down. The right one did drag. He's pointing to the right foot, dragging. Have to get a better look here.
Take a look at his right foot as he goes up. He's going to try to drag.
Left foot's down at the same time, though. That's a straddle. I think that one should have been an out. And Way is going to leave this one down. Good no call by Way. Almost an incredible play by Way. Just a millisecond more with that. If that right foot had come down a millisecond earlier, we would have a goal for Canada. Mortimer picking it up. Vertical stack for Australia. Lee is back. Looking underneath, this one floats over the top. Moore gets a hand on it, runs into his own receiver. Norden trying to strike quickly. Hammers floating in. Canada gets on the board, 11-6. After several turnovers, Canada with the easy goal in transition.
Australia, without those three dynamic handlers, just can't get anything going for their D-line's offense. Both of their possessions, not more than 3 or 4 passes.
Lee Duke has been a monster this game. That's got to be his 5th or 6th goal so far for the Canadians. Definitely on the leaderboard there, one of the favorite targets of his throwers. – 11-6, the Canadians lead. Australia offense back in the field. This huck floating in on the goal line. Damiani had Vu open, hesitated. Vu having to come back for it. Vu starting things off. Damiani, great move up the line. Damiani going for it. Trying to float this huck in there, goes over the top. Call on the play. This one's coming back. Shepard was there off of the tip. Damiani with an incredible move up line. Is getting reset here. We have a replay.
Watch. This is Damiani's huck. Nice D there.
This one going up. Carman in the back of the end zone, floating. Go over everybody. Sneddon comes up with it. Australia, 7 points. Sneddon, what a catch.
Sneddon's been coming up with everything in the end zone for Australia. Knows they caught a bit of a break there. Celebrates with her teammates.
Canada, a little bit of dismay on their faces after that one. Floating over everybody head. Everybody misjumps it, except for Sneddon. Goes right to the spot.
I tell you what, Brian, I think the advantage that I've seen here for the Australian has actually been their women. Sneddon's caused a number of goals. When you look downfield, oftentimes it's the Australian women cutters that are able to gain that advantage and gain yards with those underneath cuts.
Tegan Sneddon has been incredible, as well as Rebecca Carman. Both of them have struck deep numerous times. Before the game, we talked so much about the handler movement and how it was going to be Damiani, it was going to be Vu, Tollett was going to be part of that at the defensive line. They were going to really make the offense run. But so far, we've seen Shepard make big plays, and then Carman and Sneddon just be there as well downfield for the receivers. Flip to Norden, and we see a zone. A little bit of man almost on the handlers. Transitioning out of Australia, trying to slow things down. Ning. Now looking for Norden. Norden making a move back. Knight. Back to Norden.
Australia again allowing easy, uncontested resets to the Canadian handlers.
Way. Ning. Along the sideline, try to strike deep.
This is a beautiful throw.
Incredible put. Canada leads 12-7. Jen Kwok with the goal for Canada. Canada keeps their lead at 5.
Excellent deep strike. The undefendable pass.
We have a timeout on the field. We'll be back to see if Australia can mount the miracle comeback. This is Next Gen Network's coverage of the 2012 World Ultimate Championships. We're back here in Sakai, Japan. Canada leading Australia 12-7. An interesting story on the Australian side. We actually have a couple. Number 1, Gavin Moore, and 10 Casey Moore on the line right now. Gavin Moore actually playing with his wife, being pulled to the mixed team.
Yeah, Gavin Moore actually made the Australian Open team, but was pressured by number 10, his wife, Lisi Moore, to play mixed. They do have a family. They wanted to make it a bit more convenient, but sometimes you got to do the right thing as a family man. Play with your wife on the mixed team.
Say it's working out for them. They're in the finals right now in the mixed. Moore downfield makes a big snag. Back for Damiani. Vu. Damiani. Not much movement. Bullet pass. This one's knocked down by Canada. Looking for Sneddon deep. Norden looking deep to strike quickly. Canada comes down with it in the end zone. Mark Lloyd getting it done today. 13-7, Canada leads.
A lot of credit goes to Lloyd here for this reception. This is a tough catch. Norden picks it up, normally likes to float the disc to space, sees Lloyd streaking, puts it to his back shoulder, and Lloyd goes up and makes a tough catch for the break.
Canada continuing to pull away. Early on, Australia really hanging tight. 13-7. Canada 4 points away. It really would take a miracle at this point for Australia to come back, or Canada to really just not do their thing from here on out.
Yeah, we'll see if Australia can adjust their game to make it a little bit easier for them on offense. And it's tough to go away from your identity, and I think the thing they need to do is rely a bit more on their women cutters. Damiani needs to swallow his pride a little bit and say, hey, this one's not on me. I can't get us back into this game with my throws. I'm getting shut down right now. I need to default to what's working, not what's worked in the past.
Tollett on the field. So it's a huge bid by the Canadian defender. Spielman upfield. Turf flick looking upfield for Shepard. Carmen just couldn't get that one to her receiver. The wheel's starting to come off for Australia. Dion. Looking back. Mooney upfield. Powell. Mooney. Flips it upfield, Harris. Canadians just staying patient, little yard games at a time. Harris up the line. Mooney was wide open on the cone, but another cutter was interfering. Dion. Call on the play. Sun's starting to really come out and beat down on these players. You've seen the same players out for Australia mostly. Fatigue possibly starting to set in. Canada goes with the around. Harris. And back Mooney. Call on the play. Timeout on the field. We'll be back in a moment with Next Gen Network's coverage of the 2012 World Ultimate Championships. Here, back live in Sakai, Japan. Canada leading 13-7, knocking on the doorstep for another goal. And unfortunately, it looks like the wheels have started to come off for Australia. Down by 6, possibly 7 after this possession. Canada has just been too strong on the defensive and offensive side.
Yeah, the Canadians have truly dominated every aspect of the game, defensively, offensively, and they're also, on top of that, making plays.
Dion. Harris sneaking it in for the goal. Not much celebration. Canada quietly rolling up 14-7.
Canada with the classic end zone set, sending cutters up line to open up the break throws. And this one towing the line. Canada proving that they can dominate once again in every aspect. Offensively, out of set plays, offensive end zone, defensively against handlers. They're making plays downfield. They look like champions.
14-7, Canada leads. You know, we talk about, so far our focus has been on the tournament, but really this is an event. These World Games here, we have the Guts Championships as well. We just also had the WFDF Congress come in this morning, have a session, another session tomorrow. And Mara, you're going to be actually presenting to them about Rise Up. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Rise Up is Ultimate's first professional instructional video series. It's going to be released in the fall. And I've gotten together with Ben Wiggins and the guys at Skyd Magazine. And it really just started with Ben and I trying to create a project where we could give back to the sport and create something that that we felt like was needed for the sport, similar to what the guys here at Next Gen have done. And access to technology and the internet and how connected the Ultimate community has gotten has really just allowed us the opportunity to start it.
Australia back on offense. Vu looking for the around. Australia tossing this one up. 3 defenders in the air. Hospital pass coming in, floating to the backside. Moore reads it right. Moore to the other Moore. Honey pass. Moore to Snedden. Snedden rips down another goal. Australia not done yet. Down 14-8.
And Australia makes the adjustment with their offense. They said, you know what? We're not going to go through our main handlers. We're going to put it up top to our monster, Thorne. And then look for Sneddon in the end zone. Sneddon creating space for her 5th goal of the game.
Australia says, not so fast, my friend. But it may be too little, too late. The Canadian offense taking the field, and they have been consistent and smooth. Australia unable to break them so far in this game. Things have looked a little bit hairy from time to time with a few rush turnovers from the Canadians, but they've still been able to get those turnovers back. Norden brothers just being so clutch for the Canadians, really just being rock solid. That presence in the backfield. Australia with the pull. Thorne launching this one to the right sideline. McKnight, Norden, and definitely a poaching zone to try to slow down these Canadians. Breaking it through so easily, though. Upfield in 2 throws, Kawak. Ning. McKnight. Going deep. Kawak is there, fitting it right in. Canada 15, Australia 8.
This time it's McKnight coming up with the throw. Canadian offense looks so good when it looks good.
And it isn't like they're taking it easy here. That is a beautiful throw. It's the good choice coming around from the break. (15-8). This one almost all but wrapped up here. Next game coming up. Looking forward to it. Great Britain versus the United States. United States coming off a huge win over Team Canada, 17-16. And Great Britain storming back in the game against Sweden, winning that one on Universe as well, 15-14. Matthew Parslow leading the way there, as well as Daniel Furnell, the Colonel for Great Britain. That should be a good one. Great Britain also sporting one of well-known American players, Jolien Dahl, first playing in Colorado, now in Shane Lightning.
The Americans are heavily favored in that game. I think a lot of people coming into the tournament this weekend thought that we would probably see either the United States against either Canada or Japan in the final, and the Canadian team actually lost to the Japanese team.
Huge block by Canada, foul call on the play.
Canadian team lost to the Japanese team in pool play, meaning they ended up on the same side of the bracket as the Americans. They met in semis instead of in finals. Despite an incredible comeback by the Canadians that they've come to be known for, the Americans locked it down on double game point, not turning the disc over, and will meet Great Britain in the final.
Play restarts. Moore looking back. Vu makes the play. Looks like we might have a stall called. Perhaps a foul.
Canadians have opened up their lines just a little bit, seeing some new faces out there late in the game with this big lead.
Vu. All on the play yet again. Game slowing down here. Play restarts. Looking upfield. No time at all, forced into a bad decision, and then we have a call on the play yet again.
This was going back previously. The mark claiming that she got to 10 for a stall. That's why the disc came back those 2 times, and she's having to release it so quickly.
Vu. Spielman. Vu. This one goes to the ground on a block by Canada. The defense just doesn't stop Dion walking up to the disc. 15-8. Canada over Australia. Canada needing 2 points to seal the deal. Dion Harris busts up the line, opens up the break side, sliding catch for Canada. 16-8, game point for the Canadian defense. Can they bring the gold home now? Doesn't look like anybody is going to get the double digits. Canada has not been broken so far. The worst we'll see. Australia get to 9 before the Canadian offense takes the field. Canada, this mixed team has been the most impressive so far this tournament. Nobody's come close. You look at the United States, they've had to go through Australia winning 17-16 in the open division. They had to go through Canada winning 17-16. You win the gold, yes, you win the gold. People aren't going to take that away from you, but you're not going to just. U.S. was expecting to be dominant in the open division. This Canadian mixed team has been that. Incredible.
They've been absolutely crushing the competition here and are totally deserving of the world championship that they're about to earn. And it's also very surprising considering that the Canadian team is not a true national team compared to most of the teams that they've been playing against, which are national teams. As you said, Brian, this team is based on a club team that that won the Canadian National Championship and then pieced it together after that. But it makes it even more impressive for Canada.
Damiani looking upfield. Australia still hucking it deep. Carmen is there. This one just goes over everybody's heads. Mystery injury called on the play. Looks like Shepard. And Canada will have a chance to break here. You know, it's interesting to go back. I'm a huge hockey fan, Mario. And when Canada played the U.S. in the last Olympics, Canadians had the attitude as like they had to win. And the U.S., if they had won, it would have been a great thing, but they didn't have to win. The pressure wasn't there on the Americans. You come here in the open division coming up, that semifinal, the Americans had to win that game. Canada wasn't supposed to win. If they would have been great, but Americans had the pressure on them for sure. That reputation, that team that's based on Revolver that USA is made out of, really known for their excellence. Canada getting going though, 1 point away from a world championship. Australia though not ready to give up yet. Gets the D, Damiani. Putting it up, this one to space. Moore with the grab. Gavin Moore. Australia getting close to that double-digit mark. Canada leads 16-9. Rare time the poaching has worked for Australia.
Looks like the Australians are going to call timeout here.
Big D. But Australia gives them the opportunity. Holding again on offense. Canada still has not been broken. Mario, if we got to talk about player of the games, the first person that comes to mind for me on the Canadian side is Lee Duke, catching 5 or 6 goals. Been an incredible deep opportunity, but I know we've seen some excellent work on the handlers on the defensive side.
Yeah, I want to give the player of the game to the entire handler defensive crew. I know Norden's been in there on a number of times, but truly it was a team effort. It wasn't one specific player that got blocks. I think all the blocks that they got were a result of everybody committing to their job as a handler defender. First it was no up line, and then when you take away that no up line, the mark can adjust, and that just increases the pressure on every single throw, which leads to the blocks and leads to the deep Ds that you end up getting, because a frustrated handler is going to think, well, if we can't get anything going, we need to make a play downfield. I'm going to spread the love, give it to the handler defenders for Canada.
Entire Canadian defense has been impressive in this lead right now in a final, 16-9. potential to let no one in the tournament score double digits on you. Incredibly impressive. It's always great to see two brothers go out and win championships. Justin Norden out in the field. His brother Jeremy on the sideline. Both of them the anchors of their two respective lines. Australia getting set to pole. Again, game point for Canada. Here in the 2012 World Ultimate Games. Blade pole. This one going out of bounds, going to pin Canada on the sideline. So this one going out. Norden will take it to the brick. Side stack for Canada. McKnight on the open side. Lloyd coming in underneath. Way. Looking back, finding the receiver. Carey. McKnight. Upfield Way. Flip to Norden. One throw away for Canada. Stoppage on the play. Foul called on the mark. Pull it there for Australia. Norden coming in on three. Norden for the open cutter, not available. Now up the line. There, back of the end zone. Canada wins. Canada is world champions of the mixed division here in the 2012 Ultimate Championships. Incredible performance by Canada. For Mario O'Brien, I'm Brian Jones. Thanks for tuning in to Next Gen Network's coverage of the 2012 World Ultimate Championships.